Hello and welcome to Encore. Coming up in today's film show, to boldly go where no man's gone before, Star Trek returns to the big screen. German comedy Toni Erdmann strikes a chord with the critics, and the French indie film Staying Vertical mixes writer's block, sex and the countryside.
Hold on to something!
I'm Toni Erdmann. I'm consultant and coach.
Wow. For all that, I'm joined by our film critic, Lisa Nesselson. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Olivia.
Well, we're starting with Star Trek Beyond. Now, the actual TV series premiered in the US some 50 years ago next month, and there have been a number of Trekkie films. This is the 13th attempt at putting it on the big screen. What's your verdict?
Well, special effects have grown more and more sophisticated over time, but this installment I find more exhausting than it is entertaining. The previous two films, the so-called reboots directed by J.J. Abrams, reintroduced us to the crew of the Starship Enterprise as young people, rather well cast, especially Chris Pine as young Captain Kirk and Zachary Quinto as Spock. They were fun. This one was directed by the fellow who's been giving us the relentless camaraderie of the Fast and Furious franchise. And while there's a general patina of Star Trek-ish themes, it feels more like a video game than a high-stakes emotional drama with action that happens to be set in deep space in the future. These are good characters, but I wish the storyline this time were not quite so generic and disposable. Let's take a look.
Proximity alert, sir. We have an unknown ship heading right for us.
Lieutenant Uhura hailed them.
Yes, Captain. No response. I am picking up some kind of signal. They're jamming us.
Magnify, Mr. Suno. What is this? Shields up, ready!
Now, if I remember correctly, that series is synonymous with that phrase, to go boldly, or to boldly go, where no man's gone before. Is that a split infinitive?
That is very much a split infinitive. So it's good to know that hundreds or thousands of years into the future, we'll still have grammar issues of sorts. But the series truly was bold. Series creator Gene Roddenberry said that, quote, "In the future, not only will we accept each other's differences, we will celebrate them." And among other things, he gave America its very first interracial kiss on television, which was groundbreaking, even though it took place in space. The show tackled important themes in an entertaining format, week in and week out. The themes here are so basic in the movie. For example, friendship and teamwork are good. That's not going to offend any potential film-going market anywhere in this galaxy. What was trailblazing about Star Trek, and really worth admiring, is that the crew of the Enterprise and the member states of the Federation were all very different, and yet they always managed to work together. The bad guy's motivation here, by the way, is very interesting, but it helps that the bad guy is played by the prodigiously gifted Idris Elba. But by the time we get to his motivation, we're so worn down by that video game aesthetic that it's hard to care.
Oh, right, okay. Well, not a glowing review there. We're moving to European cinema now, a German-language tragicomedy. It's directed by Maren Ade, and this was a huge hit among the critics at Cannes this year. In fact, many of them thought it should have won the top prize. So what happened with Toni Erdmann?
Well, it didn't win anything from the jury, and that's perfectly their right, and it's fine with me. But it really did cause an absolute sensation when it was shown to the press. There was sincere, raucous laughter, spontaneous applause, near unanimous praise. This was really a phenomenon. And this week, my colleagues in the International Federation of Film Critics just voted it the best film of the past 12 months, and the Fapreschi Grand Prix will be given to writer-director Maren Ade on the opening night of the San Sebastian Film Festival in mid-September. I have to say this movie is 2 hours and 42 minutes long, and it doesn't drag. I can't say I had a particularly good time watching it. but it doesn't drag. I wanted to like it, but the two central characters, a father and his adult daughter, never grew on me enough to really care about them. So Dad's a semi-retired music teacher who never takes anything seriously, and his daughter is a hard-nosed businesswoman currently working in Bucharest, figuring out ways to fire people to maximize profits, and she never takes anything lightly. So in an improvised effort to get closer to his daughter, Dad invents this bewigged character with outrageous fake teeth, who's an alleged consultant and life coach named Toni Erdmann, hence the title, and his efforts to win over his daughter, I've made a list here, are mostly outrageous, sometimes downright rude, frequently embarrassing, spectacularly immature, and counterproductive. But he's fearless. He just keeps plugging away. I didn't find all that many of his antics funny. I'm definitely in the minority here, and I don't even really think it's a comedy, but judge for yourself.
So that was your father.
Yeah, but now he's
So, but how was the new wife?
very Russian, very skinny, very blonde.
May
Better be
I
careful.
offer the ladies a glass of champagne?
Oh,
Yeah, do we want champagne?
Please. I cannot drink all that alone. Please, will you?
Okay, let's go for it.
3 glasses for the ladies, please. And 1 beer for me.
Now, there are 3 set pieces in this film that most people are nuts about. One involves a garment malfunction, one involves the belting out of an incongruous song, and one involves a sexual encounter. For me personally, only the sexual encounter was really groundbreaking, something I'd never seen before. It involves humiliation and pastry, and I am aware of the work in that category in American Pie. Here, it's quite something. It's memorable.
Not something you would have predicted, perhaps, from a German comedy. Now, out this week is another film that was competing in Cannes this year. That's Staying Vertical by French writer Alain Giraudie. What did you think of it, Lisa?
Well, Mr. Giraudie makes movies that absolutely nobody except he could make, and that's an excellent thing. They often have an offbeat sexual component. They are set in nature with a capital N, and they're always about personal freedom. His storytelling rhythms are bold and deadpan and subversive, and the stories he's told so far are absolutely the opposite of urban stories. It's as if Paris doesn't exist. Here it's in the Lozère region of France, but that makes his movies special, that they kind of ignore the fact that there are cities. I like this movie. I don't like it quite as much as his previous film, which was just about perfect. Stranger by the Lake, which was an eye-poppingly original, all-male, all-homosexual murder mystery. But
and
this
it's
one
got
is
amazing reviews. Word of mouth hit, that one.
Really stupendous and sexy and interesting, and the motivations were all interesting to follow. Personally, as somebody who's familiar with procrastination, I very much like the central character here, who's a filmmaker who owes a screenplay to his producers, and he hasn't even begun to write it yet, but he keeps saying, I'm almost done with it, and he's gotten quite a few advances. Of course, the movie is concerned with a different kind of advance. He meets a woman, he becomes a father, and in the wake of her postpartum depression, he becomes an itinerant single parent, not something you see all the time. There's a cranky old man, a cranky young man, and the specter of wolves are also plot elements. So let's take a look at what happens when you don't do your homework.
Il n'y a pas de scénario. Pas une séquence, pas un dialogue. Que dalle.
Now, Giraudie happens to be a gay man, but he's very attuned to the role of women in the world, especially here, because he has filmed a full frontal or full crotchal actual birth of a baby. And here is the director explaining why he did what he did, and let's listen.
It fascinates me and scares me. But what I also liked was watching this kind of little alien coming into the world. This monstrous baby that comes out of the woman's vagina is a little alien, but it's also one of our own. It's a little monster, but part of us.
You like this movie, don't you?
The little alien in question. Now we're moving from aliens and birth scenes to a re-release here in France, the 1976 Japanese film In the Realm of the Senses, another movie that explores erotic themes. It's based on a true story, and France was key in getting this film made.
Absolutely. You can say that again. Justifiably legendary French producer Anatole Daumont met Nagisa Oshima in 1972 in Paris, and he said he wanted to bankroll a Franco-Japanese co-production of an erotic nature. That was all he said. I'll give you the money, you come up with the story. Daumont left it up to Oshima, who proposed the story of Abesada, a former geisha working as a servant in a Tokyo inn who falls into a madly passionate, untethered, physical amour fou with her boss's husband back in 1936. Now, I saw this in Chicago when it came out 40 years ago, precisely 40 years ago. I can still picture where I was sitting in the theater, jaw-droppingly good. Now, 40 years ago, keep in mind, there wasn't the internet. So unless you hung out in peep shows or went to super, super underground movies, it wasn't hard to see photographs of naked people engaging in sex acts. But people having sex larger than life, that was very rare. And this is incredibly moving with a strong, strong emotional component. It was also very, very foreign. The consummate art film came out in France in 1976, but it was banned in Japan, and the obscenity trials dragged on for years. Japanese people would come to Paris to see it, but they couldn't see it in their native Japan. Oshima died in 2013 at age 80, and France's National Center for Cinema, this is one of the things I love about France, they allocate over €1 million a year to restore movies for DVD and projection in theaters, and this was one of the ones they chose. You get a wonderful documentary in the DVD and also a booklet with transcripts of the obscenity trial.
So a real art house milestone there and worth checking out. Thanks so much for being with us this week, Lisa. We'll leave you with a short clip of In the Realm of the Senses. Remember to check out our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
閉めてほしい。きつく閉めるなよ。
怖いのか？
怖いよ。
そんなこと言って、お前嬉しがってるじゃないか。